Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Govs on the Go, Alumni Edition, a new podcast featuring alumni from the College of Arts and Letters here at Austin Peay State University. My name is Dr. Buzz Hoon. I'm the Dean of the College. I'm also the host of the podcast. Today, I'm talking with Brittney Hitch, who graduated from the P in 2016. Hopefully, I've gotten all that correct, Brittney. Welcome to the podcast.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you.
Great. So before we get into your journey, let's talk a little bit about where you are. Give everybody a life update.
Mm-hmm. Sure. As you can see behind me, I have a gold wall.
Yeah.
I work for the Nashville Predators in Bridgestone Arena. So I am currently sitting in the arena at 501 Broadway, Nashville, Tennessee.
How exciting. And it's right as I think the preseason is going on.
Correct. Yeah, the team is actually gone currently. I think we're playing in Bern in Europe tomorrow. And so they're overseas. So the office is a little bit quiet today. There's not many people in here this week.
But you're getting started on a new season and all the excitement of a complete season. I'm sure that you're really excited about that.
Yeah, for sure. Especially after COVID and getting back into the swing of things and having in-person games again, it's definitely exciting. So we're looking forward to back in the house again.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your journey before you get to the Nashville Predators. And as I understand it, you are from a military family and you were born in Germany. An interesting start that you had. You were born across the seas and also then lived in New Jersey for a period of time before you made your way to Clarksville. So I always like to ask people sort of, how do you think that, that period of your life may have influenced and made you into who you are?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's good that I have kind of a different background. I know, especially with Clarksville, there's a lot of military-based families. Both of my parents were from Clarksville, Tennessee. And so I was born in Germany. So it's always my fun fact to tell people because they're like, oh, I had no idea. And actually, all of my cousins, we were all born in a different state or country, actually. I have a cousin that was born in Japan. So me and him were the two out of the country ones. With her family, they moved a lot, I guess, when I was younger. So I don't remember those times. But we did move to Eatontown, New Jersey. I went to kindergarten in Clarksville, and then we moved to New Jersey. So I don't really remember those times, but I did go first grade through end of fifth grade in New Jersey. So I lived up there during the 9/11 period, and I still remember that coming home from school and seeing all of that. But yeah, we moved back to Clarksville. My dad retired. He was in the Army. He wanted to retire. They wanted to come back home. And so then I had to start basically my life over in a new place, new school, didn't know people. And it was like the end of fifth grade. So it was like the last few months of school, everybody's like ready to get out. I don't know anybody. But I transitioned well. I had, other family friends and that kind of stuff. And so I kind of jumped into middle school, did the grind there. And then I finally felt comfortable as a person, I guess, in high school, started being very involved and active in high school. And just kind of went from there. And then I always have just been intrigued by music, entertainment, especially Clarksville's outside of Nashville. And so growing up, my family would take me to concerts and to Pred games and stuff. And I just always thought it was very interesting. So I went to Austin Peay for college because obviously I was in Clarksville already and had some scholarships. So it felt like a great school to go to. And then I just had no want to move to New York or LA or anything else like that. That's a music hub of the country. So that's my little background.
Yeah. So growing up here, and I'm fascinated because I know people that had been to Clarksville before. They wanted to return and retire here, just as your parents had done. It must be something magical about this area that people really find so endearing and just a great place to live. Is that probably something that you've experienced growing up and how it shaped you into who you are?
I would say so. I think so. I think there's definitely that of still kind of like the small town mentality feel of the city. And then there's all the little cities outside of Clarksville. So like my family actually lives in Woodlawn, so it's out in the country, the farmlands. I think there's something that triggers people, and they like the atmosphere, they like the people. And then now, as you know, the past 5 to 10 years, so many things have changed. There's more things to do. And I think we all can see there's neighborhoods now where there used to just be plots of land and, you know, nothing to do. So I think there's definitely something about it that there's still like cute historical aspects to it with the small town feel and being so close to major cities. I think it's very attracting to people with that.
Okay. Brittney, I was going to ask you that at some point in time, people within communication, within the media, we sometimes get an idea when our interest in a particular subject area comes around. Looking back upon when you were younger, when did you think that you saw something that you saw, okay, well, this might be something I would be interested in, public relations, doing those kind of activities? When did that first sort of strike you?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I would say probably like 8th grade, like later middle school. We had a yearbook program and I joined that, and I really enjoyed that, how you would take pictures and write stories and make a book, and then all the students had it. But I loved learning InDesign and the design process. And at first I thought I wanted to do photography, and then I went into high school and stayed with yearbook as well. And then I was like, no, I don't really want to do that part of it, but I just kind of did more diving into what I liked, I guess. And I just always liked music. So I would read the liner notes of like albums, you know, CDs back in the day, the booklets, and like read all the people that they would thank and stuff. And I just kind of did my own research. And I was like, wow, there's all these people that work with a musician. And I was like, I wonder what I can do with that. And I just, going back to like the yearbook journalism roots, like I just felt like that was what I was good at. I always enjoyed English class and words over numbers. And so that was kind of my early, like, hey, I think I want to do this. So then when it was high school time to go to college, that's when I found out, like, I want to be a comm major. That's what I want to do.
Okay. How did your family, react to that? Were they supportive and trying to get you to go into a particular area, or were they just glad that you were finding your way along during this period of time?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. They were always supportive. I always enjoyed going to school and that kind of thing. So were glad that I was trying to get good grades and be involved in school. They never did like force me to say, why don't you do this instead, or anything like that. They were just like, oh, great. Like, you know what you want. You seem, like that's a good fit for you. And they just supported me that way, which I know, like talking to different friends and stuff, not everybody has that same support system. But just thankfully I had a good family backing me up. Of course, my dad always joked and was like, you can join the military, and like start that route. But I always was like, no, that's like a backup plan. But like, I don't want to believe in backup plans.
Well, obviously, from the responses from the comm faculty about how wonderful you are, you must have come from a very supportive family. And that's part of why I just, some of that is naturally, I think, reflected in a young person that gets started when they get into education. So you decided to be involved in comm, but had you decided on what particular area and what interests you about Austin Peay?
Austin Peay, like I said, growing up in Clarksville, that's our home university. I knew many people that went there and they enjoyed their time. I kind of did the thing that everybody did. You kind of go to the like research, I don't know if they're called like the booth days that you go and like learn about colleges and stuff. And so there's other ones, of course, but I was just like, no, like this is great. And it's right here in my backyard, essentially. Like, I don't know, I just started diving deep, and then I noticed that they offer the comm program. So I was like, perfect, win-win. And kind of like I said, I had some scholarships, so that definitely helped. But then I just took that as a time of like, it's local to me. I'm going to commute. I was a commuter student, lived at home, worked part-time through college. And that was just a great fit. And then I think if anybody is local to the area, they should highly consider going to Austin Peay. because I just talked to other friends and people try to move and, commute further and things like that. And I just feel like they missed out on a lot because they didn't have everything right there close to them, if that makes sense.
Sure. What's the first activity that you remember getting involved in your major when you came here?
I was actually thinking about this the other day. I was like, kind of trying to remember like those first few times of college. So I remember we had the APSU 1000 class. I'm not sure if that's still.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's still a thing. Yay. And so I had Mike Dunn as my professor for that. And he also became my advisor. And so that was, I guess, like my earliest college memory. Because I remember that was like one of our first classes that we had to, go to the whole, walking on campus, finding a class, starting to meet people. And then you see those same people in other classes because you're all in the same major. That was some of my like earliest memories. So to say, there's also, I remember, like your first few years, you're doing all the core class stuff. But to me, like, I was like, I've already done this in high school. Like I was always intrigued of like, I want to further my education. That's why I'm here. And so I guess like my first few things basically revolved around Mike Dunn. He had that class and he had another class or two that I had. I can't remember what they were.
Well, you don't have to. You passed them successfully and you moved on.
Right.
But I know Professor Dunn is a wonderful person and very well liked by many others. I'm sure you had some other professors that you enjoyed along the way and some other classes. You mind recalling some of those?
Yeah, for sure. So it's just going to be me talking about all the comm classes that I had, because that's the ones that made the impact on me.
Yeah.
Dr. HG, she had a few different classes. I know she also got involved with like doing service learning. So I had her, I guess like my senior year. I had her for like broadcast writing, service learning, like a media ethics, I think. I had her for a few things, but it was great just having her with her background that she's had. She always was very talkative about what she was a part of and wanted to help guide us along the way. So I had her for a few things. Also, Dr. Nichols, I had her. That helped a lot with portfolio. And that was more of actually doing PR work, I remember. And that's when I really enjoyed her classes. And then Professor Morris, or Dr. Morris, she did the event planning. And I know she started getting that going like when I was still in school. And that's when it kind of like opened my eyes more to like, yeah, there's events and there's all these people making a fun dinner or party or wedding or whatever happen. And so to take that to the concert side of things, like that's just a huge event. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, Dr. Barron, had him for social media. And that was great because we would pull out different businesses. I remember we even pulled up the Preds and would talk about things that they would post and just how everything's more of a strategy. And I feel like our generation, we learned, like we were there during the birth of social media and those platforms. And I don't know, I feel like we had a different insight because we grew up with it and we started to learn the changes and how things evolved. And things like that still kind of stick with me, especially like with work. We do different social media things, and it's just good to know how to talk correctly on social media and get the correct information out. So yeah, Dunn, Barron, Nichols, Morris, they were my favorites. I like those classes.
That's great. And, they all speak so well of you, and including Dr. Morris had mentioned to me that you were really influential during your time here. And it kind of makes me wonder, why did, you at some point must have decided to take a leadership role, which is fine. Some students decide to and some don't. But what do you think was motivating you to take sort of that leadership stance?
Yeah, for sure. That's great to hear. I'm glad I can help, or I did help people. I don't know. I always was just intrigued of like, what can I do to make things better, or how can I better things for myself? And so with that and a lot of things with our classes, I helped found a student organization. And that was kind of hard at first, just like learning how that worked. There's a process. You have to, get people involved. You have to get an advisor. Mike Dunn helped me out with that. Just trying to get something going from base one, and then meeting other people on campus from going to these classes about student organizations. but the Country Music Association has CMA EDU, and that's something that I wanted to bring to Austin Peay because I was like, we're still Middle Tennessee, we're so close. And then just through college, I started volunteering around Nashville, and I met these other people and girls, and they were just like, yeah, I'm volunteering at this, I'm working this. And I was just like, how are y'all able to do that? And then they kept mentioning, we're part of CMA EDU. And I was like, what is that? And they were like, it's from the Country Music Association. And so I just did my research. Next time I was at the event, I talked to the person that was over it. And they gave me the legwork basically to start that at Austin Peay. And so then I did the legwork of getting it started at Austin Peay. And so when that happened, that's when I was in Professor or Dr. Morris's classes. So yeah, I think that's my like start of like being a leader, because I had to do a lot to get that founded and started up. And then nowadays it's just like a virtual program. It's not really based on campuses anymore to be more inclusive.
Well, I thank you for doing that, though, because I think that's, that benefits other people. And at some point in time, a young person starts to understand it's not just about themselves, it's about the others that are within that community. And you were seeing that this is something that could benefit not only you, but also help others that you were taking classes with, which is a wonderful realization that I'm sure you have continued on with the Predators and almost any occupation that you will work in.
For sure. Yeah. And that's what I was like trying to connect people to, is like, that was like the basics of like network, volunteer, know people. Because when I kept saying like CMA, everybody's like, I don't care about country music. And I'm like, well, it's not like particularly about that, but I was just trying to show people, hey, here's 10 to 15 jobs that make an artist in this music happen, whether it's finance and management to, photography and website building. And there was just like so many facets of it. So I was just trying to let people know like, hey, I'm learning a lot from this. Like maybe you can learn something too, even if you don't like country music.
So before we leave Austin Peay and your time here, let's talk a little bit about some other students. You must have had some friends that you enjoyed hanging out with, and also were just as influential on you as a student as well. I feel like I've always had like older friends. So I had some people when I was more like a freshman, sophomore. I had friends mostly from work, from my part-time job, and they were older. And then with that, it's just the connection of talking to people. They introduce you to other people, and before you know it, you have mutual friends. I don't know. I kind of like did my thing. I had my friends, but like, I just was so focused on being a full-time student, working part-time, trying to start this organization to keep that running, and then just have fun as well. So, yeah. Well, that really is the story for so many students around here is trying to find a balance between all those different things, because all those things will compete for your time. And sometimes, because like a part-time job, for many people that don't know that, I mean, that's a regular, part of your routine, and you got to carve in time to study. You got to carve in time to get your projects done and go to class. And then there's just being a young person at that period of time in your life too.
Right. For sure. Yeah, definitely balance, have a planner, like try to be organized. That's like the best advice that I can give, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself, but you can get overwhelmed very quickly. I remember those days.
Yeah. And it can happen even when you get older, Brittney.
Right.
It's never you're always trying to find a different balance. So after graduation, you hit the job market, and I think your first job was at Dick's Sporting Goods. Is that right?
It was. Yep. They're at 2801 Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. They're at Governor Square Mall. And I'm still close with them. That was my first job out of high school. So that's where I worked part-time through college. And I mean, that's a store with a demographic of younger people. And so I started recognizing so many people from campus and stuff, just shopping in there. But it was great because it gave me that life learning, like, this is how you work, this is your basic principles of getting along with people and customer interaction. And still to this day, like having customer service skills that I learned at that job is what really helps make me like a better customer focused person here, I think, because I learned dealing with angry customers and all of that kind of stuff at a front basis. But yeah, that was my first job. I worked it through college. And I was actually with them about a year after I graduated from Austin P as well during the job hunt process.
And so how did you get involved with the Predators? Was there, how did you, get your foot in the door? I'm sure a lot of other students would want to know, how do you get started?
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah. And that literally is it. Like, do whatever and get that foot in the door. So I graduated from Austin P in May of 2016. And so then March of 17, I took a part-time job in our box office here. I was just, cruising the website, and I saw these openings, and I applied and got an interview, and they had me on part-time, and I loved it. And I was working games and concerts. And then that was right before our big Stanley Cup final run, which, if anybody knows anything about the Predators, we made it all the way and ended up losing to the Pittsburgh Penguins. But playoffs are like end of April. So March to April, I was thrown into it full force and had to learn things very quickly. And then we played hockey all the way through June. But that's what I did. That was my foot in the door. I worked at Dick's Sporting Goods 8 to 4, hurried up, hopped in the car, drove to Nashville, was here by 5:30 to worked a little bit of the event.
Wow.
Go back home to Clarksville. That was my hustle. And then since it was part-time, you could sign up for the events you wanted to work. Yeah, I did well there. And then I got promoted to full-time at the box office in November of 17. So that was my first big girl job.
So you're proving yourself that you're a good employee and could be counted on all important things that you need to do.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah, for sure. And then, when you're applying for other part-time jobs like this or full-time, it goes back to my relationships at my first job. I used those managers to help they were my references and stuff. So, don't view it as just like a part-time silly job at the mall. Like that, those connections really helped me get the job I have now, I would say.
Absolutely. And I think it is important to recognize mentors in your life that have helped you along as well. I'm sure there have been people that have guided you and helped give you advice and also given you support in that sort of professional way, which has helped you grow and advance.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some of the skills that you think that you're adding to your, I call it your tool belt as you go along. What kind of things that have you been accumulating, as skills, and which ones are you still working on?
Yeah, for sure. That's great because every day I feel like there's in our line of work and what we do, every day is different, and that's why I like it. That is kind of the negative. It's not like your typical I'm going to go to work today and I know what I'm going to expect. But a lot of it is think on your feet, jump in and do this. And so with different positions I've held, I've learned different things. And then with that, it's helped me have more of these tools, so to say. So I think everything goes back to being customer focused. And like I just said, that learned that work in retail. But then going to the box office, you're at a window dealing with customers and they're upset that their, tickets aren't valid or they can't get in or somebody else sold their tickets and all those kind of conflict issues. But I knew how to prepare and handle myself because I've done that in retail. And after I did that, I was in there for a few years in the box office, but then I got promoted to guest experience, which is basically our fan relations department. So your overseas and ticket sales and customer service. We had about 800 accounts, and of course, not every single person contacts you all the time, but they can. And with that, it was just that's when I learned more of the prompt response, taking care of people. It was still customer service, but you're working events and meeting people and just kind of having those client relations. And then doing just different special events for our season ticket holders. I've learned more of the event process with that. And then nowadays in my current role, I'm in our booking department. And with that, that's so much more show side of things. But I've learned, I guess, new skills of, I'm in charge of like decorations and setting up certain things and things that I always enjoyed, but like I never really had to do. But also if something, needs fixed or whatever, like I'm able to just jump in and help take care of something. So yeah, I think what I'm just trying to work on is just more, I don't know, I guess like a personal goal would be more like communication with other fans. I'm trying to learn Spanish. And so just kind of want to further that a little bit. Personal note, my boyfriend speaks Spanish. His family's Mexican American. So with them, I've tried to learn more, but then we'll have customers and I want to be able to help them. And then sign language as well, too. I think that would be something else to learn.
Yeah.
To help.
That's a great point. And that's something that I think that students should consider as well. I mean, that, having those skills available to you, especially in what you're doing, would be so helpful to help to make sure that you can communicate with whatever group that comes around.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And that's something like I had it told to me previous, times in the past by mentors and people. They were like, if you can minor in a foreign language, like that would be great. Like so many people said that. I was a comm art minor, but I mean, looking back, that is something that I would suggest to people. You don't think it's necessary, but there are different aspects where it makes you gives you that little extra push because you do speak a foreign language and you're able to help out where needed. And just the more you're around people, the more you realize people speak other languages and have other areas that they would need assistance with.
So besides the opportunity to have something new every day and you're problem solving, you're using your critical thinking skills, there must be some things that are a little bit tougher about the profession, that whether it's hours or just things that are more challenging, let's say. Mm-hmm. What are some of the bigger challenges you have to deal with on a daily basis?
Luckily, our organization is great. Our leadership is great. Everybody's just awesome. It generally is a great organization to work for. But just in other personal, type scenarios and stuff, like it is hard being a woman in the entertainment industry, whether it's sports or music. A lot of these industries have been heavily male dominated. Yeah. So I think it takes great leadership and other female people in higher positions to help be like, look, we know what we're talking about. We can still talk about sports. We still can talk about music. And I think that's something that's helped greatly here. Our organization helps, diverse. We have a diversity program and we're just very inclusive. And I'm thankful that we have people that support us here. But I know other teams and organizations, it's not like that. It's harder for a woman to try to get their start. So I still think there's some of that, especially if there's some kind of conflict scenario and you're trying to talk to somebody. I think there's still that they want to talk to a guy to kind of see, and luckily our coworkers are great, they're going to tell them the same thing I just told them, those kind of scenarios. So there's still some of those things that's difficult. That's like the only personal thing, but working in events, everybody's like, oh, it must be so cool. You get to go see everything. And it's like, oh, yes and no. Like there's days where I'm like, all right, I'm going to leave this one because it is long hours. And that's the thing. It's not the set 9 to 5 job. And it's just, everything kind of depends on getting the job done. So something people don't realize, like when we have concerts, those concerts load in at 5, 6 a.m. in the morning and they don't leave till 1 or 2 a.m. the next day. And so there's people that are here working when they come in first thing in the morning and when they leave later that night. And so more my schedule, I guess, would be more like a 9 to 9 or 9 to 10. It just kind of depends on what happens, because I normally work the events and just kind of stay and help out where needed. But then there's some days that I do have, like today, we don't have anything. I will work like 9 to 5, so it just kind of varies. But I guess my only advice or info going into it is yes, it's fun and it's always something different, but just know you're going to miss out on a lot of things when you work these long hours. You're working multiple nights, you're working pretty much every weekend. And, it kind of sucks sometimes when you see your friends and family having fun. They're going on these trips or things on the weekends, and you're like, dang, I want to go do that. Or they'll ask you, and then like you stop getting invited to things because they're like, oh, she's busy, she's working, and I'm like, still ask me, I might be free. It's just those little things. But then you'll have some where you'll have a downtime where there's not games and you have more concerts, and there's a whole like balance to it. And I think we're like weird situation now because with COVID, we stopped having events, and then you're just trying to figure out how do you still keep everybody happy, keep a company running and all this stuff. And then after COVID, everything's just been like full force. So we have a concert tomorrow, Saturday. So tomorrow's Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and another one on Wednesday. And so like, there's a lot that we've been doing this week to prepare for all these, but it just shows like, I'm not really having fun this weekend, even though it's like October and fall, and like part of me wants to go drive around and like go to a pumpkin patch and stuff. But like, I'll just have to figure that out another day.
I know how you feel though. It was the same with sports production. So when we did sports production of games as well, Brittney, I really have been impressed by the relationship the Predators have with Clarksville and with Austin Peay in general. So I think it must make you glad that you see all of your worlds kind of come together in many ways like that as well.
For sure. Yeah. It's really, it's like this cool, weird feeling that we've had youth hockey programs here with our Fordyce Center in Bellevue and Antioch, and Montgomery County was interested in, hey, can we get, and it started with like an idea for like a sheet or two of ice. And they were like, hey, we want to get hockey out here. Can you all help? And of course we're like, sure, we'll help you out with that. And then thanks to Mayor Dirt, he had other ideas of furthering things. And there was the idea of like, how about a multi-purpose event center? And so that's what everything kept being called, was like the impact. And then it turned into what is now F&M Bank Arena, where Austin Peay's men's and women's basketball will be played. But then it also gives a sheet of ice for the community, and then a main bowl area to have concerts and hockey tournaments and things like that. So it's cool seeing everything start from day one, where we had a groundbreaking of dirt, and we're downtown Clarksville, and everybody like from here, my home here, coming to see my hometown of Clarksville. And then now we go on these other work trips to go visit the arena, and it's pretty much done. Now they just put seats in this past week. But it's cool when we get to do tours and talk to people about stuff, because I'm the one person that knows both sides of it. I've lived in Clarksville. I've seen the change and the growth. And then I've lived in Nashville the past 4 years. So I've seen the growth in Nashville as well. But I have that, I'm actually from here. Like I'll speak up, when there's a question, and I'm like, yeah, I went to Austin Peay, and this is the demographic of students, and this is what we do here. And it's just those little local things that kind of makes a big difference. So I don't know, it's still weird. Like I just say it's weird to me. Like we go to these things and I have fun and I enjoy being a part of it, definitely, for sure. And our leadership has been great, embracing, letting me be a part of these things. But it's still weird to be like, man, just a few years ago, like I was here in college, not knowing really, for sure what I was going to end up doing. And then now flash forward 6 years or whatever, now I'm out here starting something new. It's really weird to me, but it's awesome.
you are breaking ground for us. And that's why we're so proud of you. I mean, obviously all the folks in COM are so proud of you. And that's why they wanted to have you as the first representative on the Alumni podcast. So, it's so great to have this time with you, Brittney. And one of the things that I always like to try to do is tie it back to our current students. And I'm sure while they're watching this, they're wondering, that's somebody I want to follow, that path. What kind of recommendations do you have for current students?
Yeah, for sure. So kind of what I'm, if you listen this far, you've kind of heard that I talked about networking and volunteering and just getting out there. I can't stress that enough. And I know, like, I've heard that in college, like, you need to get out there and do it. But like, when you actually do it, those connections and relationships you make, still to this day, I'm finding people that know somebody else. And it's just like full circle moment. Since I just said we're going to have the F&M Bank Arena, get involved with that. If you're interested in any facet of that, of whether it's security, catering, being a runner, which is like just running around getting things that the show needs. You're just shopping and buying stuff for fun, basically, but you're helping the tour out. To other planning and meetings. And there's just so many job opportunities that are going to be at this facility. And if you're in college now, get a part-time job there. That's going to give you firsthand experience. And then that would also help you too, kind of like how internships are. Like that helps give you that firsthand knowledge and working and being in the field, because then you'll learn, oh, maybe I don't want to do this. And then that way you can help kind of get back on track instead of finishing everything, getting a real job. Then you're like, I hate what I do. So I tell everybody, volunteer, network. And if you're interested in any kind of form of events, sports, being around people, get a part-time job. F&M Bank Arena.
That's some great advice. And
Thank
thanks for sharing your time and also your story, Brittney. It's been great talking with you today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm honored to help represent, to be one of the first few to do this. And I'm honored as well that everybody had nice things to say about me, and likewise, I just can't thank everybody there enough for my time.
Okay. Well, I look forward to meeting you in person and maybe even at the arena when it's finally ready to go.
Yes, hopefully sometime soon. We'll give you a tour for sure.
Okay. And thanks to all of our viewers and listeners out there for checking out the podcast. We hope that you will continue to join us as we profile some of the outstanding alumni we have in the College of Arts and Letters here at Austin Peay State University. So until next time, stay safe, take care, and God bless.